A Melbourne woman who returned from Syria 8 months ago has renounced the Islamic State and jihad in court as part of her bail application. Officers arrested the 34-year-old on Thursday and charged her with terror offences using evidence they had obtained since the return of 4 other so-called ISIS brides last month. The AFP has not elaborated on how the evidence was collected. OK, Tasmanian Premier Jeremy Rockliff has been grilled during budget estimates over the secret court case of a former minister. Let's go live to Aspen Blomfield in Hobart. Hey Aspen, do we know what this court case is about? OK, we don't have Aspen for you for now, but do stay with us after the break.
When all else fails, throw to a commercial break. Some technical issues there for Sky News Australia. It happens, especially when you're doing so many hours of live programming. Hello, I'm television and radio producer-presenter Rob McKnight. With over 30 years' experience, this is Media McKnight. Channel 10's Big Brother is on the move. Now, there have been rumours the show is leaving Dreamworld due to a conflicting booking at the convention centre. And that is absolutely true. Media McKnight can reveal the show is moving to Brisbane and will air around the same time as last year, but it will go a week longer this time. There's a lot riding on this season of the show, with Channel 10 putting a lot of eggs into the Big Brother basket after cancelling a string of shows, the most recent being, of course, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and yes, that was revealed here first. At the Screen Forever conference earlier this year, 10 executive Sarah Thornton, well, she reinforced the need for the show to be live and not just available on one platform, saying it was still the most streamed show on 10 streaming of the year. And it's worth saying that it's not that Gen Z didn't find it on linear TV either. You know, we still won 16 to 39 and 25 to 54 demos, so they were there. The other thing that's worth saying is it works so well for Big Brother because the point of the show is that it's a national conversation. Can you have a national conversation these days if you only exist in one place? You probably can't. And she's absolutely right. What 10 did so well here was allowing the live stream to be available on platforms like TikTok. It didn't just limit itself to the Channel 10 platforms. It's a strategy backed up by Director of Content at Endemol Shine, Amelia Fisk, who said at the same conference, it was about just creating awareness and capturing an audience and then pushing it back to the Daily Show to broadcast, and every decision and strategy around that was to kind of push back into broadcast. While this year the season will only be a week longer, I think it's fair to assume a much longer season next year, especially if this one is as successful as last year. When Nine Entertainment sold regional station NBN Newcastle to Win TV last month, there were fears the deal would weaken one of Australia's last truly local TV news services. As Kevin Perry at TV Black Box wrote at the time, NBN's local bulletin has historically focused heavily on regional stories, local emergencies, community events, and issues directly impacting audiences across northern New South Wales. In many communities, it remains one of the few genuinely local media outlets still operating at scale. The fear now is that Win may eventually dismantle that structure in pursuit of operational efficiencies. Well, it seems Kevin was right. Win has announced the local NBN News service is being cut to just 30 minutes and will soon air at the new time of 5:30 p.m, followed by the Sydney edition of 9 News. Now, this would follow the programming strategy of Win News, which airs in the same time slot Monday to Friday. The weekend edition is being axed entirely and there will be job losses, although the network hasn't revealed how many people will be affected. In fact, they're refusing to acknowledge there will be job losses. And Kevin Perry has also revealed today that the bulletin will be pre-recorded, so it won't be live, a big change for the local people in the Newcastle area. In a statement, Win Network Chief Executive Andrew Lancaster said, "The changes to our weeknight bulletins are designed to deliver more local content, more local stories, and a stronger connection to the communities we serve across northern New South Wales." Get your hand off it, Andrew. Like, seriously, don't feed us shit. and expect us to swallow it. You're doing it because you have to. Television is struggling. So I get the idea that you have to bring down operational costs. And it was obvious that this was always going to happen with NBN. But don't tell us you're doing more local content. You're literally taking away weekend news services. You're reducing the bulletin down from an hour to half an hour. And now, of course, I understand that that 1 hour bulletin was filled with national and international stories that were supplied by TCN in Sydney. I get all that. But the fact is, even the weekend bulletins alone, you don't need as many staff. You are not producing as many hours of local news. That is just a furphy. Treat the viewers with respect. Just be honest and say, this is about sustainability. We can't keep going if we stick to this model. We need to make these changes to make sure that the people of Newcastle can have local news into the long term, which is something Win does believe in. I know that. Just don't feed us this crap that you're delivering more of it. You're doing what you have to survive and make money. Fine. Just please don't feed us this crap. Now, I wouldn't usually do this, but I have a personal favour to ask. Does anyone know where I can get a DV cam player fixed? I'm really at a loss where to go. It's a second-hand DSR 1500, which I just bought, and it's coming up with two error messages, 95-120 and 92-704. And there's no tape stuck inside, so it's not related to that. Is this something that can be easily fixed, or do I need to ship it back to Japan? Any experts out there, please get in contact with me at rob@tvblackbox.com.au, or feel free to DM me on social media. And especially if you're in the Gold Coast area and know where I can go, please, even Brisbane, I'll be so grateful. I'm at a loss, and I'm really thinking this is going to have to be shipped back to Japan, and that's a major problem. So if I can fix it easily, oh, geez, I'd be thankful. You can show your support for the show by buying me a coffee. Just go to buymeacoffee.com/McKnight tonight. Every bit helps keep this show from our garage going. Here comes McKnight tonight. Radio executive Guy Ashford has been stood down after allegedly groping an employee at last week's Audio Awards. Media Week reports the incident happened during the acceptance speech of Sherilyn Darcy for the award of Best Newcomer. Darcy hosts the Nightline on 2HD. Video of the incident has since been shared online.
Hey, what, that is a Camilla. Oh, my. All right. That radio spirit's still alive and well. That's why we cancelled the actress.
It's genuinely shocking stuff. Now, you heard someone say that's why we cancelled the ACRAs. The ACRAs were the previous radio awards, which have since fallen by the wayside. The sad part about all this is the impact it's had on Sherilyn Darcy. When contacted by the Daily Mail, the radio host was reluctant to speak about the matter, saying, "I don't really want to talk to anybody. It's wrecked my award, that's all. I really don't want to make any statement. I just can't. I've worked all my life for this. I feel like people just think I'm a joke now." Sherilyn, I'm genuinely sorry you feel that way, but that's not how people are looking at you. You are not a joke. To be honest, people are just confused as to why you were treated this way and why on earth this guy thought doing that was okay. It's going to be very surprising if he survives this. In fact, there will be outrage if he does survive this. Now, radio host Spencer Howson was at the awards ceremony, sitting just metres away when it happened. Spencer, welcome back to McKnight Tonight. You're in Mildura. We'll get to that in a moment. But tell me what happened.
Well, I was sitting in the front row of the auditorium there, and so what you just saw happened about 4 meters in front of me. I've got to confess that I did not see that actual groping, for want of a better term. My recollection is I had seen Sherilyn's social media in the lead up to the awards night. She's a current afters student. She does, as you say, the nighttime program, not only on 2HD, but also across the Super Radio network. And this was such a big night for her. And when she was announced the winner of Best Newcomer Medium-Sized Market, there was a genuine, probably the most genuine surprise and excitement of the whole night was from Cheryl Lynn as she made her way down the stairs and across the stage. And if you watch the full video, she's almost dazed. She can't believe that she won. And it was absolutely a beautiful, beautiful moment. We were all excited. And I think all I can think is I had Dean Buchanan next to me, one of the founding managers behind Nova from many years ago. And I must have just turned to Dean and said, this is so fantastic for Cheryl Lynn, and then turned back around because I just don't know how I didn't see it. And I've been asking myself, did I have some sort of male blindness where I didn't see that? But I would like to think that
Spencer. Sometimes you just don't see things. There's a lot going on. It was very, very quick. Did you get a sense, because there's audible gasps from the audience, did you start to wonder what was going on?
No. But I think that's because the ceremony was very quick. I mean, there were a lot of awards. And what happened was winners were announced and they came down the stairs and they were presented with their awards off stage almost while the next award was being announced.
Right.
So it was fast. So to be honest, no, I wasn't aware of the gasping. But you know, the video makes it very clear, and I see Cheryl Lynn's own video of the night that she posted. There's this obvious edit where she walks down the stairs, and someone's obviously filmed it for her, and she's posted it. And then there's this gap, and then she's being presented with the award, and it's obvious. Then you know you can insert the other video if you like into where the gap is. And I would only back what you said. Rob, no one is laughing at you, Cheryl Lynn. No, you are not a joke. Please do not feel that way. Look, there are some people on social media who have been taking Guy's side and saying, "Oh, can't we do anything anymore? Oh,
no,
we're just going to have to."
You can't do that.
You can't do that. Whatever that was, and if you watch, and now I've watched it over and over, and he's clearly grabbing her, but then he turns to the crowd as if to say, I mean, yes. Hooray for our Cheryl Lynn, all right? Yes, but was there a little bit of, I don't know. I don't want to suggest that he was saying, look what I did, I just squeezed her bum. I don't think that's right, but it was not right. It was not right for now, and it would never have been right.
That's where he came from, but he obviously thought it was okay to squeeze her ass, which it absolutely isn't. Do you think there is any situation where Guy Ashford gets to keep his job? I can't see it.
Well, I'm going to say yes, and I'm not going to say that because I think he should. I'm going to say that because men have a way of coming back. And I'll give you another example. Chris Smith lost his job at 9 Radio some years ago after incident at a Christmas party, and lost his Sky News job as well. He's now back on air, same network, by the way, and he won an award as well last Thursday night. And I know a lot of people are saying, how the heck was he not completely erased from Australian radio? How did he come back from that? I'm not saying that Chris shouldn't have come back, but it is just an example. That's an example, and I think Guy will be the same, of men in particular seem to be able to come back from these things. By the way, it is now starting to rain here in Mildura, but I'll stay on the line for you, Rob.
Thank you. We'll try to keep it quick. The one thing I would say to that is that Chris Smith took responsibility. He lost multiple jobs. People have to work. And so if he's taking responsibility and making amends in some way, then I can see that. But this guy has to pay a price, and I think there will be outrage. And it is really coming down there. You're actually here to talk about local radio ratings in Mildura, which have been released just recently. Let's have a look at the station performance while you wipe down your camera. Triple M Sunraysia has come out on top with a 30.2% share, a massive increase of 10.6%. Hit 99.5 was close behind on 29.1. Then it's Daylight, followed by River 1467 on 15%, and ABC Mildura on 8%. Triple J lost 4.8% for a 4.4% share. Spencer, we've moved you to a new location and the weather has magically stopped raining thanks to the power of editing. What's your take on the result?
I thought this was live. Yeah, so the Mildura result, I was expecting, and we did talk about this some weeks ago when I beamed in from Mount Isa, and in Mount Isa, Hit had a very successful survey there despite its breakfast show coming from the Gold Coast and beating the local stations. I fully expected the same in Mildura. In the past, the last survey here, 2023, you did have that situation where the number one station was Hit, the number one breakfast show was Hit, and at that time the breakfast show came from Albury. Now the breakfast show on Hit comes from Hobart, All along, though, the Triple M breakfast show has stayed local. And we've had this situation where stations overall, but also breakfast, Triple M is number one. And people who are for live and local radio and believe that radio has to be and is at its best when it's live and local, it's a win. It's a win for local radio. I was genuinely surprised because it's not happening everywhere that people are sticking with local radio.
All right, well, let's take a look at the breakfast slot. You mentioned that. So it's a bit of a rinse and repeat with Triple M on 31.6%. That's an increase of 11.2%. That is huge. Hit 99.5 had to settle for second on a 30 share. That's down 4.8. River 1467 was a long way behind on 14.4, but did take third place. ABC Mildura dropped 2.4% for an 8.8% share. And Triple J was on 4.4 after losing a 3.9% share of the audience. It's the exact same rankings. What is Triple M doing right?
Okay, so Triple M Breakfast, a bloke called Matt Mann, could not be more local. Everyone around here knows him. So I've been here for the last 4 days interviewing listeners and people who don't listen to radio. Whether they listen to Matt Mann or not, everyone knows him. And he's extraordinarily, he's local, talks a lot about local sports, interviews local politicians, did an amazingly powerful story about a kid with cancer on the bottom of his foot yesterday. Local. The issue with Hit in Mildura is the show that comes from Hobart does not do as good a job at masking where it comes from as the Queensland super show on Hit, which comes from the Gold Coast. That show from the Gold Coast is number one in Toowoomba, Emerald, Roma, Mount Isa, Townsville. You would not know where those presenters are. The Hobart-based Hit breakfast show that you hear in Mildura, they talk a lot about performers coming to Melbourne or coming to Hobart. Tony Martin, the comedian, was on their show a couple of weeks ago, performing in Launceston and Hobart. They're just not masking it as well. So combine that with the fact that everyone knows Matt Mann, and he does this brilliant yet so hokey quiz every morning called The Secret Spot, where people have to guess a local business from a sound effect. It's like Secret Sound, but it's Secret Spot. He doesn't have a producer, obviously. He just takes the call straight off the desk and says, hello. And they go, g'day, Matt Mann. And then he'll go, oh, g'day, Cheryl. You know, he knows their voices. And then they'll go, is it Office Works? No, it's not. Oh, can I have another guess? Is it the something hotel? No. Is it the something mechanics? No. Like, what other radio show allows people to have multiple guesses when they phone up a secret sound? So
very true. I want to ask you this. Is it localism or is it just because it's a better show that connects? Is this what we're not talking about, that it comes down to what is a better show rather than the location?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And you know, what Hit's doing is very different music to what Triple M is playing. It's very different music to what the local AM station River is playing. And the ABC, you know, listeners have told me over the weekend, oh, too much talk on the ABC, or they love the ABC because there's a lot of talk. So you're absolutely right. It is not just, is this show local or not local, that people are using to decide what to listen to. It is often the format. When I get to Townsville later in the year, you've got 4 commercial FM stations there. That's when it's going to get really interesting. You've got Power, you've got Star, you've got Triple M. They're all local breakfast shows. And you've got Hit, which comes from the Gold Coast, which last survey was number one. Then it's going to get really interesting because, yeah, there'll be subtle differences in the music that those stations are playing, but they're going to be a lot closer in format than what we're seeing somewhere like Mildura or Mount Isa. And then I think, is it local or not local, would come into play much more.
Okay, well, we've just seen the results for Geelong in Victoria. They've also just come through. Let's go through the overall station results. K-Rock is number one on 17.8% share. That's an increase of 4.9%. Bay 93.9 came in second on 17.1. That's an increase of 5.3. ABC Melbourne drew an 8.4% share. Triple J came in fourth place with a 4.8% share, and ABC Radio National made the top 5 with a 2.4% share. In breakfast, K-Rock was also in top place with an 18.7% share. That is after a 7.3% rise. Bay 93.9 also increased its audience share for a 16.7% share. ABC Melbourne was on 8.2%. Triple J lost audience but drew 5.2% of the audience. And ABC Radio National had a slight gain for a 3.4% share. Now, K-Rock and the Bay are stablemates, and the Quarter Hour podcast spoke with Bay 93.9 music director and announcer Guy Ashford about the result.
We are stoked. A good result for local radio as well. We've all put in a lot of hard work. I mean, I know everyone says that for a survey, but we really have, and we are absolutely stoked.
Let's talk a bit more about that survey for a minute. What's working, do you think, for Geelong broadcasters? What's the secret sauce?
Being local, being connected, and just really being Geelong loudly and proudly. Like, Geelong, again, is an interesting market because you've got people that have grown up here, but then you've got a lot of people that are moving from Melbourne, escaping the rat race. So I think it's sort of a country town but a city at the same time, which I imagine other markets like the Gold Coast and the Sunny Coast are as well. You've sort of got that mix of people that have grown up here, so you want to service them and make sure that they're local, but you don't want to alienate them with things from the 80s that people who haven't grown up here that don't actually know about.
So, Spencer, he puts that success down to a strong localism push. Does that reflect with what you're hearing in your research?
Mm. Well, I would not disagree that if you're going to be very local and you're going to be someone who is seen walking down the street and you're going to be at the show and you're going to be emceeing events, that is going to help to attract an audience, definitely. But the elephant in the room here, and Liam talked about it in that quarter hour podcast episode, is that the Melbourne stations are not reported in the Geelong ratings. If you put the local stations there together, it comes to about 35%. So there's about 65% that is not local, and that includes Triple J, Radio National, Classic FM, ABC Melbourne, that are there and reported, but there's still about 47% missing. Where's 3AW? And in that quarter hour podcast, the point is made that the Melbourne music stations beam loudly into Geelong as well. It's about 60k difference from looking at it on a map. They all know Geelong's very close to Melbourne, but I wanted to see exactly how close. So I suspect, I don't know this, I have no information to back this up, but 3AW is such a powerhouse. It is the biggest radio station in Melbourne, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually the number one station in Geelong, but we're not going to know that because it's not in the interest of the local stations that are selling advertising in the Geelong market for anyone to know how successful 3AW is doing that.
Well, as you said, Liam Renton, who's filling in as the host of the quarter hour, did ask about that very thing. Let's have a listen to the response.
Mate, correct my maths, but the 47% unaccounted for in that survey. What's your take on that?
51% of local people are tuning into Geelong local radio, whereas last survey that number was a fair bit lower. So I think we focus on the growth and, look at the positives.
Oh, it's absolutely positive. But where do you reckon they've gone then? Obviously, Melbourne stations is the only other place they'd get their radio listening. Wouldn't that be the case?
Possibly, it's a scattergun approach. Maybe it could be online as well. We're not sure, but I think we've got to focus on where the local audience is coming from. But I'd say if they are Melbourne stations, the other percentage that's left over, they'd only be little bits and pieces of each. So I don't think there's one Melbourne station dominating over the local ones.
He's going to say that. Of course, he's going to say that because his job is to sell Bay FM and K-Rock to advertisers in Geelong. So of course he's going to say that. But I would just say look at the map, and it's not 51% listening to local because he's excluding Triple J and Radio National and ABC Melbourne and Classic FM. They're not local stations either. So it's a smaller figure than that are listening to local stations in Geelong.
Well, Spencer,
I don't want to yuck on people's yums, I don't like the idea of making enemies here, but I look at the figures and I can just see it was just so obvious when the Geelong figures came out that there's such a huge gap, and good on Liam for actually going there and
absolutely. Absolutely. In a nice way. Spencer, you have been through all the weather. It's amazing we actually got a segment out of this. Thank you so much. I'll let you go. Thank you for joining us on McKnight tonight. Media McKnight. I don't even know what show it is.
Make talk from Mackay in a few weeks because that's where I'm heading next.
See you then. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Media McKnight. A big thanks to Spencer Howson. What a trooper under very trying circumstances. Thank you, Spencer. I'm Rob McKnight. I hope you can join me next week at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/@McKnightTonight when a new episode of Media McKnight comes up. And if you're a paid member of the YouTube page, you'll get the episodes as soon as they're ready and released. Until then, I'm Rob McKnight. I'll be back for McKnight Tonight live at 8 p.m. in your social media feeds tomorrow night. I'll see you then, hopefully. I love him. It's like he's created a hut on Survivor.